We got to understand here the educational program that you have to be able to figure out whether it will go on the right lines where the people will end up in a situation where they can be able to really control themselves. You understand what I'm saying? With no education, the people take this local foundation and start stealing money because they won't be really educated to why it's the people's thing anyway. You understand what I'm saying? With no education, you have neo-colonialism instead of colonialism, like you got in Africa 9, like you got in Haiti. So what we're talking about is there has to be educational program. That's very important. As a matter of fact, it's so important for us that a person has to go through 6 weeks of our political education before he can consider himself a member of the party, able to even run down ideology for the party. Why? Because if they don't have an education, then they're nowhere. You dig what I'm saying? They're nowhere because they don't even know why they're doing what they're doing. You might get people caught up in the emotionalist movement. You understand me? You might get them caught up in because they're poor and they want something. And then if they're not educated, they want more. And before you know it, they'll be capitalists. And before you know it, we'll have Negro imperialists.
This educational process is necessary, and it's the people that will cause the revolution, and it's the people that will cause the change in the country. It's simply the vanguard of the revolution, and we plan to teach the people the strategy and the necessary tools to liberate themselves.
Intellectual masturbation. This term describes more so activities, discussions, monologues that are more so just healthy word salads, but once you unravel it and comprehend it, it's more just words. It's not feasible. You can't use it to develop anything. The words that you're given from intellectual masturbation, nothing can come out of it. It's what Thomas Sankara would say, soothsayings. And during revolutionary times, soothsayings cannot aid the revolution. Intellectual masturbation, we can even just look at the word itself. You see intellectual, but you see masturbation. Masturbation, we already know, is the act of, basically having sex with yourself. But there is no birth that comes from it. There is no life, no production that comes from it. It's just a feel-good. So when you put intellectual before this, using the intellect, using the mind, intellectual masturbation, the word in itself basically says, one using mind, the soothsayings, a feel-good speech, words that sound good, but they produce nothing. Furthermore, intellectual masturbation, this is also a way that someone is trying to showcase what they know. But when we know with knowledge comes wisdom, and with that wisdom is supposed to be understanding. So and with that understanding, there is something that's produced from it, a culture that's supposed to free you. So we see with this intellectual masturbation, it is only just that, just mere words, usually for attention. It is usually to make oneself feel as though he is above those he is talking to. It is not to educate them, it is to parade their mental and make it seem as though there's some grandiose Wizard of Oz type character that just has all of the answers. But once, again, you unravel what is being said, once you comprehend what is being given to you, there's nothing tangible behind it. It is like giving one information, but then there is no education. It is like giving someone the recipe. It is like giving somebody a recipe where it's the ingredients, but it does not give you the measurements. It does not give you how much to preheat. It does not give you all of the instructions on prepping whatever this meal or whatever this dish you're cooking with. So when we see this intellectual masturbation, we should look at it more of like a sociopath, if you will. One that is using what they know to manipulate you, using what they know to con you, and then essentially rule over your mind. But again, it produces nothing.
someone that engages in intellectual masturbation may actually be someone who is historically or socially astute, but they will often derail conversations, like the comrade said, with long-winded rants or, preaching, so to speak, that in the end are only kind of tangibly related to the subject. So you end up kind of lost in the sauce with everything that they gave out and not really getting to a point of solution. They may also engage in having many, many conversations, meetings, town halls, events, but we rarely will see any progress in one's community or organization that engages in intellectual masturbation. And maybe also someone that offers many complaints, but no solutions. And I also think that people can be engaged in intellectual masturbation either naively or nefariously. So meaning they may have good intentions behind trying to maybe tell all that they know, so to speak, or all that they've learned, and maybe not in a harmful way, or it could be nefarious in that they actually do waste our time. They actually do engage in all this lip smacking, and we never do get to any productive initiatives or anything that actually impacts the community. And I'll yield there.
Free the land.
Free the land.
All answers are correct, but what is not intellectual masturbation, just because somebody is educating you on how to do better and how to operate better, explaining revolutionary ideology, does not make that intellectual masturbation if somebody is teaching you something as it regards towards that. So, a lot of people get that mixed up during this time where a lot of people just hate the word education. They rather have something reactionary, something quick, microwave revolution, popcorn revolution, something that's not, just good at the moment, but longevity and effective towards the longevity of the community that they're in is actually nothing. It doesn't stand on anything, So let's not confuse just regular education and somebody teaching you something when it comes towards revolutionary ideology and political education in a liberation school setting as intellectual masturbation.
Poverty pimp. This is one. Poverty pimps and opportunism. When we look at poverty pimping, this is to use people in a situation lower economics, those who are wage slaves and those who don't have jobs. This is to misuse them. This is to also use funds to get them to do things that are compromising, or to do things that will not even there. It's to get them to do what you want them to do. Since they're in a hard time, you know that you can use perks, you can use money, you can use different amenities to bait them or control them. And usually these methods are done for selfish gains. Also, these selfish gains may come with something that this person who is in a tight spot is doing something that really, as they get that perk, it only eases the burden for that day. And sometimes they may do things that put them in harm, may do things that jeopardize their health, may do things that even jeopardize them from their jobs, their families, etc. When we look at opportunists, this goes into straight up undermining. people on either what they don't have, what they don't know, and again, taking that opportunity to use them as just a piece on the chessboard, a pawn, without a care of how they're feeling, the backlash they may go through. I yield.
Poverty pimps are someone who, or even a group that benefits from the misfortune of the poor or the disadvantaged. I think that it can be used to describe people that solicit for the poor. They may act as a mediator or intermediary for, on behalf of the poor. They may receive some sort of state funding or philanthropy type of funding. They appear to be working on issues that affect the poor, but it doesn't seem to make much of a difference. So they have like some sort of a front. They don't really want to permanently solve societal problems. They really work in their own interests, as the comrade just said. I think that poverty pimps are despicable. We need to be calling them out. We need to be grabbing the mic. We need to be taking the stage. If there's poverty pimps in our communities exploiting us and exploiting our disadvantages, our oppression. I think that some examples of those would be pastors sometimes, politicians, lawyers, that kind of ambulance chase but don't really seek to change anything that's systemically occurring with us. And even nonprofits, they're kind of the bribe set in the middle sometimes, set up in our communities that, extort kind of really high salaries, but we don't really see really impactful work coming from them. So that would be considered a poverty pimp. An opportunist, I was always taught that an opportunist was someone who profited off the pain of the people, especially for their own immediate advantage or their own subjective gain. So rather than being guided by consistent principles or plans, the opportunist just seeks to, gain something, usually for oneself or even for one's business or for one's nonprofit that is very kind of selfishly intended. Again, opportunists should also be identified and, excommunicated from the community, not allowed to be in any sort of position to, in leadership or, be giving advice or guide our youth. Again, we need to be exposing opportunists from every mountaintop and letting them know they're not welcomed in our communities. They need to be called out. And I'll yield there.
Free the land. Opportunists. Poverty pimps. Poverty pimps. Opportunists. Now, let's see how that correlates with the movement in reactionary times. We've seen a lot of poverty pimps and opportunists. What does that look like? Have you been involved with an opportunist and a poverty pimp? Have you ever seen one before? Well, opportunists in this time as it relates to the movement is people who ambulance chase. Different cases, different tragic things that happen to people like police brutality and things to that nature. And they don't come up with a solution. They don't come up with nothing to cure the situation. But their intentions is to gain clout and money off of it. They parade around. They make flyers attaching their organization to that person who died or that person that died. And then once the case is over, they disappear like a thief in the night. Not to talk to the family and get everything they can get out of that situation. Poverty pimps, like we've seen a lot of in the movement, stealing the people's money for security detail and things of that nature. And they don't even come to the events. They steal the money. But using Black Power patches and organizations to show that they have the trust of the people, but really they don't. Their intentions is to make money, get clout, grow their organization, make it look like something that they're not. A poverty pimp sells dreams to the people, make it look like they got something to fix the problem. But they're not fixing the problem at all. The only problem they're fixing is lining their pockets, lining their name of their organization. And they leave those families with a bad taste in their mouth over and over again. Poverty Pimps and Opportunists has took over the movement in this modern time. Some uneducated by default, because if they studied revolutionary ideology, and if they study scientific revolutionary socialism, if they studied our struggle, they would not be doing what they're doing. Counter-revolutionary, reactionaries in reactionary time, taking advantage of the people, sensationalism, photo ops, but not concerned about the family and the situation. Not concerned whatsoever. Weekend warriors, one day events, one and dones. They take their pictures and they're back to their homes, safe tucked in with their families. The opportunists and the poverty pimps hide behind these movements, these patches. They say they're gonna sell you something, and a lot of them does not sell you what they ask for. Later to take their money during a Cash App or a Zelle or a PayPal, and their product, their merch that they want from that organization doesn't get to them. They use their name, their organization, that sell a dream just to take money. They use their organization and their name just to fool people. Sexual activities. They use people in bad situations that's uneducated and kept them uneducated just for their own selfish accomplishment and evil deeds. The poverty pimps and the opportunists is the most counter-revolutionary thing you could have in the movement, besides an agent and a rat. Poverty pimps and opportunists.